Do avoidants love you? My quick answer is not the way you love. And my long answer is what I will tell you inside this video. So avoidants love? I believe that's the wrong question to ask. Keep watching. A better question is, what happens to their capacity for connection, vulnerability, dependence, commitment, and emotional intimacy? Because this is where anxious people get trapped. They see the avoidant pull away and think, if you love me, you will want to be closer. If you love me, you will communicate. If you love me, you will reassure me. If you love me, you will fight for this. And then they begin teaching the avoidant how to love them. And that's where exhaustion begins. But then you might be thinking, Marianna, but isn't that the right way to love? Yes. You are correct. This is the right way to love for most anxious people and to most secure people. But avoidants don't respond to that the way anxious and secure people do. And this is what this video is for. If you're new to my channel, I'm Marianna Turov. I'm a researcher and a neuroscientist and an anxious attachment clinical specialist and the creator of NeuroIdentity, a neuroscience method I have developed during my research since the year 2016 on over 10,000 anxious attached people in over 14 countries. In this training, you will discover your secure attachment at the identity level. Imagine navigating relationships with calm and ease. If you want to watch my full NeuroIdentity masterclass, I will leave you the link on the description box below. For this channel, the description box is major because that's where you have all my free guides and all my good stuff. And also, don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Okay, so for this video, I'm going to give you some facts about how avoidants love. So then you stop abusing your brain, okay? I have spoken to over 10,000 anxious attached people in over 14 countries. And you and I know that the consistent type of partner for an anxious person are avoidants. So I have a lot of information about the experience of being with an avoidant from the perspective of the anxious person. And I am here to tell you that your perspective may not be matching how the avoidant works and operates. So bring your snacks, pen and paper, because this video may be a little lengthy. Fact number one is that you're looking at their love through your own lens. This is the first major mistake. An anxious person often experiences connection through proximity, communication, reassurance, emotional disclosure, consistency, and responsiveness, which is good, is healthy, it's standard. So when the avoidant doesn't provide these things, the brain of the anxious person concludes there is no love. But you are making an assumption and you tell your avoidant partner, if love feels like this to me, love must look like this to you too. An avoidant person can experience attraction, affection, attachment, desire, tenderness, but in an inconsistent, unsustainable way, while still practice defensive mechanisms against closeness. Avoidants can present themselves with some sort of tenderness and affection, but inside they still fighting. Okay, let's put that aside for a second. And that is the part people don't understand. The feeling and the defensive response can coexist inside an avoidant person. That feeling, that warm, sweet feeling they may have with you. Remember, I said they are unsustainable and inconsistent, but they exist. So when they are connecting with that warm, tender feeling towards you, they also have this defensive mechanism against connection that I will define later. I know this may sound so weird to you, but you need to open your mind and learn how their insides, the insides of an avoidant work, so you don't blame yourself, because that is my job, to make sure that the anxious person stops suffering. And this is why your sermons towards your avoidant don't work. You sit down and explain to this avoidant person, this is what I need. This is how relationships work. You need to communicate. You need to open up. You need to stop running away from me. You need to understand my attachment style. And you're thinking, if I can just explain it correctly, they'll finally understand. But here's the problem. They probably already understood you. Understanding isn't necessarily the missing ingredient. Trust me, they know what you want by heart. The problem is the avoidance attachment system. Attachment research describes it as deactivating strategies associated with deactivating attachment needs, such as suppressing vulnerability, distancing from emotional dependence, emphasizing self-reliance, or reducing the perceived importance of intimacy. Looking at your flaws, feeling like a superior intellectual being compared to you, and bringing instability, doing things that would make the relationship unstable. So when intimacy increases, the person may experience that internal shift. The anxious partner says, "We're losing our connection," and the avoidant response becomes, "You're asking for too much." And now both people are reacting to completely different internal realities. Fact number 2, and this will really help you understand fact number 1. Let's talk about checkpoints before love, because the question is, can avoidance love? So let me tell you that to reach the point of love, there are checkpoints both partners need to pass before the relationship can manufacture love. This is where my 3-phase model theory becomes useful. Phase 1 in a relationship is infatuation. Everything feels easy, you're attracted, you're fascinated by each other, you idealize each other. Differences aren't very threatening yet, and this is why some avoidants can look amazing in the beginning. Avoidants can be incredibly attentive during infatuation. They can pursue, they can be romantic, they can be affectionate, they can text you constantly, they can make you feel, I finally found someone who gets me. Avoidants are particularly good at this phase, almost flawless, because during this phase, there is no requirement for closeness and emotional intimacy yet. Which takes me to the next phase of the relationship. Phase 2 is differentiation. This is where reality arrives. You discover we're different. Different communication styles, different needs for closeness, different conflict styles, different levels of emotional disclosure, different expectations around commitment, different needs for reassurance. And suddenly the relationship isn't, look how much we have in common. Now it is, look at how different we are. This is where many couples get stuck. And this is where the anxious avoidance cycle begins and becomes incredibly powerful. The anxious person experiences the growing distance and moves towards the relationship. You say, let's talk, let's fix this, let's reconnect, tell me what you're feeling. And the avoidant experiences that increasing demand for closeness and moves away. I need space, you're putting too much pressure on me. And then the anxious person chases harder and the avoidant withdraws harder. Now the whole relationship becomes organized around the management of the distance, of the connection, the management of emotional needs, the management of the levels of connection. That is the whole dialogue of the relationship. The anxious and the avoidant become stuck in this phase for months or even years. This differentiation phase, there is no love created in differentiation. What we're doing in differentiation is looking at how different we are. And what you're considering love is the memories of the infatuation phase. And you start to use those chopped little memories as facts that they can love you. And you say, what happened to those amazing 4 hours in the bathtub? You used to be so close, so affectionate, but you chased me for weeks. What happened? You loved me so much in the beginning. But listen, they did not love you because you cannot fall in love in the infatuation phase. There's no time to build that. You have to pass the first test, the infatuation. Then you have to pass the differentiation phase and then go to the next phase, the commitment and love building phase. This is phase number 3. This is the phase where you really need to understand infatuation isn't the same thing as mature relational love. At this phase, you are already infatuated. You passed and understood and negotiated your differences through the differentiation phase, and there are not many major problems that occupy a big place in the relationship. So during differentiation, you already solved your major problems, and they may occupy a space in the relationship, but they do not become the whole dialogue of the relationship. And eventually the couple has moved beyond I want you into we can build something together. That's where you develop stable commitment, emotional safety, healthy interdependence, conflict repair, consistent communication, shared goals, future plans, trust, mutual respect. This is where love becomes less about intensity and more about consistency. And this is exactly the phase anxious avoidant couples cannot reach. The anxious avoidant relationship remains stuck in differentiation. Some cases, they try to reach into commitment and love building by buying a house together, getting married, having children. But the biggest dialogue inside the relationship is still the lack of connection, which means they still in the differentiation phase on the inside of the relationship, and they go into commitment only on the outside. Inside the relationship is full differentiation, and commitment is only being built on top of differentiation, and that's when the anxious avoidant trap is. Because you're now building your future on top of differentiation, and that's why you're so unhappy. And that's an incredibly important distinction. I'll make this revelation. You can be connected to someone without actually building a healthy relationship with them. That's what makes the anxious avoidant relationship so confusing, because you still together, you still feel chemistry, you still may have sex, you still have memories, you still have moments of incredible closeness. So the anxious person says, how can you say this relationship isn't working? Look at how connected we are. But the connection itself has become organized around a cycle. You're connected through chasing and withdrawing, hot and cold, not necessarily through healthy interdependence. And this answers the original question. So, do avoidants love? My answer is not going to be their kind of love is not meant to make you happy, because you already know that. Are you happy? Of course not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this. Their love, if you want to call it love, has a very different framework than secure and anxious people. Avoidants dream of a relationship that it's ideal for them, where they can deactivate as many times as they want and their partner will be unaffected by that. And you and I know that's not you. Avoidant people are absolutely capable of experiencing infatuation, enthusiasm, affection, physical contact, but experiencing love and being able to sustain the level of intimacy, vulnerability, consistency, and interdependence required to build a healthy relationship are not the same thing. They do not provide that kind of consistent, grounded love you're looking for. That's the distinction you need to understand. Stop using the chopped pieces of the infatuation phase and bring them to your present day and say, that was love. Wasn't love. That was infatuation, and avoidants are very good at that. And that's why you need to stop asking, does this person love me? Was their love real? And start asking, what happens to this relationship when intimacy becomes uncomfortable? Because that's where you learn whether the relationship can develop or not. So stop trying to prove that your avoidant loves you. You don't need to spend 3 hours analyzing, he did this, so he must love me. She pulled away, so maybe she doesn't love me. He came back, so he must care. She disappeared, it was all a fake. Instead, ask these questions. Were we capable of moving through differentiation? Could we tolerate our differences? Could we repair conflict in an effective way? Could we negotiate needs? Could we create emotional safety for one another? Can we develop healthy interdependence? And can we build a future? That's a very scary exercise because you know the answer to all of these is no. You know that avoidant person cannot deliver what you want or need to feel like you're significant, a significant part of a relationship, the other half of the relationship, and a priority. I know from my research, speaking with over 10,000 anxious attached people, I know that to tell an anxious person to leave their avoidant partner is almost like telling them to set themselves on fire. It's scary. And I have lived it myself. And it took me a long time and a lot of pain to decide to get out. I had many attempts, but I always came back because I blamed myself, telling myself that my needs were too much when it was not true. My needs were okay. They were not abusive, they were not degrading to my partner, and they were not immoral. They were basic, healthy partner needs. But unfortunately, my avoidant partner was not able to sustain them. And I had to accept that and leave. So whether your avoidant is your partner or is now your ex, now go back to the relationship phases and remember that infatuation can create the feeling of love. But mature love is demonstrated through what happens after the fantasy wears off and two separate human beings have to build a life together. And that's the part the anxious avoidance cycle often never reaches. It always stays stuck in differentiation. These relationships tend to fail because they never learned how to turn connection into construction. I would love to continue this conversation, so please leave me a comment and visit the description box. It's very important that you have there my WhatsApp number and you can ask for your gift. Yes, I want to give you a gift. I want to give you 15 minutes for free with me on the phone. Yes, you and me talking private. And you can tell me what is the most irritating anxious attachment symptom you're experiencing. Everybody has different ones, and I can help you solve it with a whole protocol of tools that I have available for you. If this video served you, share it with someone you love, and I will see you on the next one.